6:47. Let's take a look at the front pages. The US president's reaction to those leaked UK diplomatic emails describing his administration as inept leads several of the newspapers this morning. The Times says Donald Trump severed relations with Sir Kim Darroch after the emails leaked, in effect instructing Britain to replace its ambassador.
President Trump's scathing attack on Theresa May showed the damage to the US-UK relationship and creates a dilemma for her successor, says The Guardian.
And families have paid £15 billion in the last 2 years caring for relatives with dementia, reports the Daily Mail. This tax on dementia is cruel and unfair, the paper says.
So joining us now, the Mail's Andrew Pearce and the Mirror's Kevin Maguire. Also this morning, we're joined from Washington by Stephen Yates, who was Deputy National Security Advisor to Vice President Dick Cheney. Very good morning to you. What do you make, firstly, of the leak of these diplomatic emails, and secondly, of the contents of them? Are diplomats, do they have to be diplomatic at all times, or are they entitled to speak their mind? And if they have a view of an administration, as Sir Kim Darroch clearly does, that's so negative, should they be ambassadors and diplomats?
Well, good morning. There's a number of things that are striking about this. Number one, in the era after WikiLeaks, it's frankly amazing to me that any ambassador would put these kind of remarks in writing and send them anywhere around the world. There are many, many means of communications that heads of mission have with their home governments. Their prime ministers and other leads in government have opportunities to meet with the president and his other surrogates directly. It's totally unnecessary and I think borderline unprofessional to put these kinds of things in writing. And essentially he was summarizing what the editorial boards of establishment newspapers in D.C. have been saying. And I don't think any government needs to send someone to D.C. to summarize that. They can do that from home.
Well, that's what struck me, is it seemed to be just all the talking points of, you know, New York Times, CNN, all that kind of stuff. It was a kind of anti-Trump rhetoric.
If only he had just summarised it as if it was all of their opinions. And
if he'd actually said this is what the mainstream media is saying, that's one thing. Yeah. But I thought it was pretty rude of the ambassador, a lot of what he was saying. Pretty disrespectful, and particularly disappointing, I think, that it's come so soon after the very successful UK state visit by President Trump. And if I was President Trump, and I was counting down the minutes to when he responded, when I read this, because I thought he's going to go nuts. He's going to think, well, why am I bothering with the UK if this is how their own ambassador in the heart of Washington treats us?
Well, the president tends to look at the people and goes beyond establishments and their leaders. I mean, look at what he's willing to say before he visits the UK. And frankly, it's one of the reasons he's risen to a position of influence to change some of the ways we do things in the United States and around the world. And so, frankly, I'm not surprised he has targeted the ambassador for a bit of a public rebuke. I think it makes perfect sense that the government of Great Britain finds someone who is able to connect with and influence in a positive way the leader of the government of the United States in the current era. And so it wouldn't shock me at all if the ambassador were changed.
Well, he's got 6 months to run as it stands, but I don't see how he can stay in the job now after this. And as you say, it's really about to me, it's about the incompetence of putting this stuff in writing. He might want to think this, he might want to convey his concerns to the Prime Minister, but after WikiLeaks, to actually put it in writing in a way that's now been leaked, as I would have put good money on it being leaked, seems to me just very incompetent.
And it also misses the point. The ambassador's job ought to be advising his government how to work with President Trump, how to get the best outcome for his country in dealing with President Trump. And just conveying what his critics have to say about him back to the home government, I think educates them and informs them not at all. And so to me, that's another degree of incompetence behind, I think, the idiocy of putting those kinds of things in writing in the first place.
I totally agree.
Did I see I'm just trying to find it, on a betting website that you,
yes,
Mr. Morgan, might be in the running?
Yeah, Mr. Yates, I'm now
US ambassador to Washington.
I'm now 8-1 to be the new UK ambassador to the United States. What I would say is, I would have a damn sight better idea of how to advise a British Prime Minister on how to engage.
Are we literally watching you put in a live CV?
I know Donald Trump a lot better than any of the British politicians, and I would have, if Boris is watching, and looking for an ambassador to go and live in that sumptuous home in Washington, I will declare myself...
Who would only say nice things.
Yeah, there we are. Look, 8-1. 8-1.
Oh,
It's slightly tarnished by the fact Anne Widdecombe is favourite.
Yeah.
I don't think Ladbrokes are being entirely sincere here.
66 to 1 for Sadiq Khan and 250 to 1
final
for
point.
Theresa May.
Surely the point, though, Stephen Yates, is that actually, as you said, I could totally agree with you, it needs somebody in that job who is able to actually tell the British government and the British Prime Minister the best way of getting the best out of Donald Trump for this country.
However inept.
And it seems to me that what Sir Kim Darroch has done, he's actually managed to achieve the complete opposite. He's managed to single-handedly enrage Donald Trump to the extent that Trump will no longer work with the UK ambassador, which is an extraordinary thing. But if I were Trump, I'd probably feel the same way.
Absolutely. And it's also contrary to everything the classical Foreign Service officer would do in almost any other country. Look at the eggshells they walk on in most of the missions in hostile countries and otherwise. And somehow they feel like it's totally fine to put in writing things that would get them made persona non grata in almost any other country around the world. It's just ridiculous.
Totally agree. Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us, Stephen. So, Kevin, I mean,
You might be talking to the next ambassador.
Mr. Ambassador.
Yes.
Call him Your Excellency.
Yeah.
that's why I like the idea of this.
Your
God.
Excellency.
If they could afford me, I'd take the pay. They can't.
Can't afford you.
The serious point, though, is that although I have no interest in doing this, it does need somebody who understands how to get the best out of Donald Trump. This is a crucial relationship for this country. Trump comes to the UK on a state visit, massive success by common consent, right? And we're looking to do a big new trade deal with them. And now our UK ambassador puts all that... Here's the key thing. He might think all this stuff. And this stuff, by the way, is nothing new. It's the normal Trump-bashing rhetoric, which he's just picked up on the Washington Post.
Or it's what he genuinely believes.
Well, it may be what he
Piers
thinks.
Morgan.
It may be what he thinks. But for a man who's supposed to be a diplomat, to put this in writing so that it could then potentially be leaked is cretinous.
But Piers, that trip was a massive success, apart from when he wanted to buy the NHS, interfered in a race to be Prime Minister, and attacked the London mayor.
But overall, Kevin, overall, most people said it was a success.
We paid a lot of money and rolled out the red carpet for him to have a family holiday with the royals.
Good. We should.
But look, he's proved he is a thin-skinned man-baby.
We know that.
The man-baby, the way he's responded. The tale of two Kims, he's all over Kim Jong-un in North Korea like a rash.
All right, so let me ask you.
Okay. And then Kim Darroch makes a few critical comments in private.
So you think it was sensible for the UK ambassador to the United States living in Washington near the White House to put in writing all this stuff about Trump?
I do.
You think that was good for our country?
I do.
Come on.
No, I do. And what happens is when it gets leaked, that is a problem. But if
you put it in writing, it's going to get leaked.
Sadly, not enough. You have to have a way of the ambassador speaking to about 100 people, senior in the Foreign Office, across the Treasury, other departments, ministers, Downing Street.
If you know that, and you know, so Andrew, if you know it's going to potentially be leaked, right? You have to be very cautious about the language you use. This was not cautious language. This was plain rude, I think.
Well, every ambassador will now be cautious about the language.
They will now. There was a great TV comedy in the 70s and 80s called Yes, Minister, and that is the language that Sir Kim Darroch should have used.
Yes.
The language of Sir Humphrey Appleby. There's a way of saying that the White House is incompetent in it without using such inflammatory language.
Nothing positive at all.
And there was nothing.
It was all unrelentingly abusive.
If he doesn't feel something positive, why should he write something positive? Isn't it his obligation as our man in Washington to say it as he sees it?
No, it's not to just parrot the normal anti-Trump
He also knows with this guy...
It's to tell the Prime Minister how best to get a good deal out of Trump.
He knows how thin-skinned he is, so he should have pulled his punches, in my view, because we want to work with the United States. Kevin can't bear Donald Trump, will never say anything positive about him. He's the President of the United States, he's an important guy.
That's why Kevin's not on the Ladbrokes list to be the next ambassador.
But you two like it. Kevin and Susanna like this, support Kim Darroch, because you like what he said, because it plays into your anti-Trump narrative.
I don't like the fact that, or I worry about the conclusion, Darroch said Trump might emerge, Terminator-like Arnie Schwarzenegger from the flames and be re-elected.
Exactly.
Now, that might be the case because most presidents are re-elected. But he's quite right about him being very thin-skinned and dysfunctional.
But by the way, there's another side to this. Who the hell are we to be lecturing anybody about dysfunctional,
I know, look at our
unruly,
government.
divisive
He
administrations.
wasn't lecturing anybody. These emails
As our
weren't
country goes
supposed
to
to be
hell in a
public.
handcart over this Brexit farce, we are lecturing the Americans on how to behave.
Does Theresa May run a
Americans.
competent government?
Susanna is correctly making the point he wasn't lecturing. Look, of course we're dysfunctional at the moment. We acknowledge that. But let's acknowledge the US is dysfunctional too. And the problem for Boris Johnson, assuming he wins and somehow emerges standing from tonight head-to-head with Hunt, which he's cowardly put off until most people have voted. His problem now is, can he, when he's the new Prime Minister, be seen to be dictated by Trump about who is our person?
The US ambassador...
We're not a colony.
No, hang on.
If I were Boris Johnson, if Boris wins, I would have Darroch out of there a million miles an hour. I think he's completely discredited.
Well, I think he
when you get personal like this in writing, and you're the ambassador to the United States, and you say uniquely dysfunctional, the president radiates insecurity and so on, that's not an overview of the presidency. That's a personal opinion about you don't like Donald Trump.
How often has he met Trump?
Huh?
He won't have even met Trump a lot because he deals with officials.
Well, Trump deals
with officials.
Trump said he didn't know him, but he doesn't like him anyway.
Exactly.
He also mentioned something else, by the way. So Isabel Oakeshott broke this story in the Mail on Sunday. Fantastic scoop for the Mail on Sunday. Fantastic scoop for Isabel Oakeshott, right? Yeah. So a Guardian journalist,
I saw that,
John J. Crace, who prides himself on being extremely sniffy and snotty about people like me and the tabloids, but he's written this. He's written this today. He's talking about the scoop, and he says, blah, blah, blah. Not least because the only way Isabel Oakeshott, the journalist who got the leaked emails, ever gets a scoop is if Nigel Farage, or Aaron Banks, leaves it conveniently tucked under her pillow.
It's an outrageous...
I thought that was a disgraceful...
Yeah, but I think...
Aaron Banks, of course, is one of the great Brexiteers who's close to Donald Trump.
Basically, the Guardian allowing one of their columnists to infer that a female journalist has basically had pillow talk.
Imagine if that had been in the Daily Mail.
I think the reason he says that is she works for Michael Ashcroft, big Brexiteer. She worked for Aaron Banks, writing his diaries, and then she had in her home a whole load of emails.
In the attic, weren't they?
Yeah, which showed Banks's contacts with the Russians.
It's saying leaving it under her pillow.
Yeah, it's quite
we all know what that means.
We
all know what that means.
I'm sure,
it is suggesting that she's had some kind of relationship with these guys. I think it's outrageous.
She could take legal action.
Shame on the Guardian. Female editor of the Guardian, the first in their history. I hope that Guardian editor takes some action.
Saw that. I bet she hadn't read that.
I think it's outrageous.
I'm sure high-minded John Crace didn't mean that.
High-minded. They're all very high-minded at the Guardian, but they tend to say one thing and then do another. And I think Isabel Oakeshott should be applauded for actually a fantastic scoop.
That's a great
story. She has responded to that too, saying...
Well, she's outraged, quite rightly.
You should judge me on my work. What are you thinking of making these outrageous claims?
They wouldn't say it about a male journalist in that way. They wouldn't.
Well, probably not.
Nigel Farage has never left anything under my pillow. Or Aaron Banks.
Things that didn't need to be said.
We won't, I know.
Before we let you go, guys, tonight's big ITV debate, obviously, with Boris and Jeremy.
Do we know that Boris is turning up?
Well, my point is he's won even if he doesn't, because most of them have voted already.
Yeah.
It's a postal ballot, and the last poll showed him on 75%.
Have any of them voted twice yet? Weren't 1,000 sent 2 ballot papers?
Yes, they were. Well, they say
if this was an election in a trade union or a councillor, you would be the first shouting it should be rerun.
It is a very strange way to an election.
But
Someone better win by more than 1,000 votes then.
Boris, though, I think has been quite impressive in the last week. I think he's begun to be looking and sounding like a leader.
He's fizzing with ideas too. At last, we're hearing Tories talking about policies beyond Brexit.
Yeah.
There is a world beyond.
You know what I like, though, Kevin? I know you're going to hate this, but you know what I like? I like his upbeat, positive rhetoric about the country, right? Even if he can't deliver on it, I like the fact the ambition is there to put the pride back into the country.
No more being miserably expensive.
So what the Mayor
Theresa May's diet of misery.
It has been misery.
It reminds me of the captain on the Titanic. Play louder, band. Play louder.
Your lot are sinking a lot faster, mate.
Come on.
Labour are sinking with all on board.
The Titanic will be if you're not getting
clueless about Brexit.
There is a certain irony, isn't there, about having a popular policy which is bring back 20,000 police officers when it's your own government that cut
cut
20,000 police
Should we remind
officers?
Johnson the number of police officers went down in London when he was mayor? Just an inconvenient
But it's not down to him, though, right?
No, it wasn't.
It
wasn't in the cabinet.
No,
It wasn't in the
Sadiq
cabinet.
Khan always reminds us when he tries to get off the hook on the knife crime. Police numbers have nothing to do with the mayor.
But you have a police
Or is it only when it's a
precept.
Tory mayor?
No, you have a police precept.
So when it's a Tory mayor, it's his fault. When it's Sadiq Khan, it's not his fault.
I
But
criticise
sorry,
Sadiq Khan for closing police stations.
And he still is closing them.
Right.
He still is
So
closing
I'm not going to give free pass to Johnson.
Anyway, I should be watching it.
Good.
He'll be watching it.
Yeah, we'll all be watching it. Julie Etchingham tonight.
Do you get together to watch these things?
No.
No.
I enough to sit next to him on this chair.
Do you two ever socialise together?
No.
He
He did come to my house once and I locked him in my Margaret Thatcher shrine.
he has got a shrine.
And we want pictures of that tomorrow morning.
They're there somewhere.
It is
I locked him in the shrine and I said at midnight her ghost comes out.
But he's got a full-size cutout of Thatcher. He's got photographs of her signed. He's got letters of her.
And
With
just
me.
He's got
seriously,
models
we
of her.
need
Right.
evidence of
We'll
this
sort it
on the show.
And do you know what he's got on his mantelpiece? A bust of Trotsky.
No, it's not. It's Karl Marx.
Karl Marx.
Do you remember?
All right.
Do you remember
Even
the
worse.
The pair of you sound to me to be equally weird, so let's just leave it there. We'll have you back tomorrow. We're going to have the post-debate debate. Julie Etchingham tonight. The big debate is at 8 p.m. on
Meanwhile,
ITV. Boris Johnson and Jeremy Hunt.
Our political editor Ranveer Singh, of course, joins us now from ITV studios in Salford.